Greetings, dear ladies. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. In a meeting like this, there was a time when I used to say my partner steps away, but he doesn't anymore. And the reason he is more integrated now with you than ever before. And that is what we speak of. We have told you for so long now, there comes a time when the dark and the light on this planet starts to meld instead of being separate like it has been and fighting like it has been, to what you would call more light than ever before. And in that, there is also a meld of you, your culture, while you're here. All of these things, dear ladies, are part of the prophecies I've given you now for years. I want you to simply take stock for a moment of the beauty of the prophecies, and then take a look at the solutions and the resolutions that have happened, even subsequent to me giving them to you. Light is winning. There was a time when I said that, and others would say, yeah, sure, because they couldn't really understand or see anything better than what they had. What is going on this planet right now has more light than it ever has had before. And yet, at the same time, there's more darkness that would appear than ever before. Now, that is the perception. You've come, all of you, from olden energies. If you've only lived for 20 or 30 years, you still experience very olden energies. And these energies did not have the light that is here now. And so you never got to see that which was in the dark. Not really. The light exposes those kinds of things. And then there is the reaction. Then there's the resolution, and then there's often the solution. But as this comes from year to year to year, it's slow. But I'll tell you, this year has shown some remarkable things. Not just that the light is winning, but remarkable things for women. You might think it's time for women to speak out, for them to have that which should have been theirs all along and the equality that is theirs all along, but it's not that way. It's not about that. You know what it's about? It's about the women standing up and asking for the rest of the world what's right. And that is a first. You would think, perhaps, the way things work on this planet, that would be the last thing that would happen. And you started to see it happen just a few years ago, when women started to address things that women never talked about before. And they were not then suppressed. Instead, the men also looked at it and said, you know, you're right. And they then joined the women in trying to make things perhaps a little better, to have the light shine on things that were very dirty before. What has just happened that is remarkable, that you could point to, women in general, that has happened on this planet? Something extremely unlikely, something very heroic, that has to do with a society, a culture. And whereas you might have expected this to come from the seeds of politics, instead it came from the street. Women on the street. In a country where they were not allowed to do hardly anything, and never have been. Very, very unfair to the max. And if they did something marginally, which was not acceptable to the law of the land, they were put to death. And in this time where light is showing, And I told you it was coming. Now you have groups of them objecting together in a way that you never thought they would. Some of them, indeed, will have the ultimate price paid, but they're doing it anyway. And the reason is because it is time, and they see it as time. They are the heroes of this culture at this time, and history will show that, because it is the beginning of the tumbling down of that entire idea that they would be suppressed. This is new. This is what we told you would be happening. And that's just the beginning. Culture after culture, you're going to start seeing women lead the way. And we're not just saying in women's rights. We're talking about all rights. Women leading the way in discussing the things that men have not discussed before. And once again, when the men see it, they'll say, you know, you're right. This is the expectation because women have the intuition, the motherhood. They have the leadership. They have the feeling of the shamans. I want you to watch something now that I'll also predict. When women come to the forefront and start exposing the things that are unjust, not correct in general, not just for women, but in general, that they will do it where the men will not. And the men will look at them and say, you know, you're right. This is the prophecy, is that more and more women will take the lead in the discussion of integrity on this earth. And that they will not have to fight the men for it, but rather there will be so many who will see the logic of it, will see the gentleness perhaps of it, and many of them will gather around and say, I'm glad they said it, because the women could do it. This is the new prophecy, coming out of the shadows in a way you never have before. It begins now, and you're seeing it this year, and it continues. Listen, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but you are proceeding, dear ones, with light on this planet in such a way it has not appeared before, correcting things that need correcting by the ones who will start to be listened to, and that's you. Watch for it. See it. It's already started. It's happening. Congratulations. Now, in the process of all of this, don't be afraid, because it's your time. Perhaps why some of you are actually here. There are so many layers of things to be exposed. Layers and layers and layers within your culture that you have the leadership to do, and probably will. I told you it was coming, and here it is. I'm crying in love with you all, and so it is.